And we are live. Hey, Concrete.
Hey, Danny girl, what's going on with you?
It's a day, Chad. It is a day. Um, yeah, it's a day. And it's kind of weird. Hold on just a second.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
hmm
Uh, yeah, it's kind of weird because it's like a sad day. Um, if I'm well, if people haven't heard or haven't heard the rumor, a very popular YouTuber, Sansa Ray, may have committed suicide. I don't think anybody's gotten any official word, but there have been posts on her Facebook page and also a post on her Instagram. So, it's very,
Yeah.
very sad if
Um,
that's the case.
Absolutely. I've seen several YouTubers doing streams pertaining to the matter, and hopefully that is not the case. Um, as unfortunate as it would be for somebody to be so cruel as to play that type of hoax, I would prefer that it is a hoax than, her to have resulted in taking her own life, and especially being a mother and having, a very young child that would
Right.
be left behind, as well as I think she has an adult, older daughter who's a young adult too. So definitely prayers to her family. And like I saw the posts on her social media pages too. There are varying accounts as to whether or not it's true. So I'm just unsure, but definitely sending prayers to her and her if she's alive, of course, and definitely her family as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, because I would hope that it was a prank. Like I hope it's a prank because I really hate to see when people die or
hmm
especially if it's by suicide. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that the allegation is that it's because of the cyberbullying that she faced here in Black YouTube. So that would even be sadder, knowing that because of all of the um, everything that she faced here, being in this space, all of the negative attention that she received by being in this space, that something like that would have drove her. But I know she was also having issues within her personal life. I watched some of her streams. I know there was stuff with her ex, her baby's daddy, and she seemed to be kind of on the upswing, but I know
Mhm.
she also has some things in her personal life. So yeah, it's sad to even think about.
Yeah. 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 I don't want to get too far off into that. Um, Yeah, I don't want to get too far off into that because it's still like shit like this makes me sad, sad. So, I did want to acknowledge her, you know,
Mhm.
ju- and it's like, I hope it's a prank. I hope it's a prank.
Right.
Um, yeah, I hope it's a prank. So that's about it. So let's switch gears. How's
Mhm.
everything going on your end?
Everything is everything. No complaints. It's a little rainy here, but had a pretty chill day. Worked and not much else other than work. But yeah, everything's going good on my end. No complaints. What
Well,
about you?
that's good stuff. How's
Aside from what you say?
Oh no, go ahead. I want to hear.
I was just asking, how are you doing?
It's actually been an eventful day. It's been eventful.
hmm
Got a couple things out the way. Went to work. Um,
hmm
got my cooking done before we started. So hip
Look
hip
at
hooray
you.
there.
Look at you. I need to be like you when I grow up, child, because I did not. So I'll be pulled away here in a little bit to get started. But we ate like my man slept in, so he ate like a late breakfast and then a late lunch subsequently. So well, it'll be probably a late dinner about 7:30 ish. But yeah, he's a night owl, so sometimes he'll sleep in.
Okay.
But
Have
yeah.
they said anything about you guys going back to work?
No, I received an email last week just saying that we will be out for at least this week and next week, and just kind of, I guess, playing it by ear. They did say that whenever they allow or permit people to go back into the office, that they're going to stagger people. So it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out because the office that I work in, there's not really a way in which you could do like social distancing. The people in my office have like officles.
Right.
They have like the officles, but they're directly next to one another, and there's not really a way you could do social distancing in there. So it'll be interesting to see what the plan is going to be.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Even if you could do social distancing in an office, it's still a confined space.
True,
So,
true, true,
um,
true.
we're supposed to.
Which,
Oh, go
well,
ahead.
right now, they have people going to the office. They have certain people certain adjusters have to go into the office for like one day a week because of the nature of their jobs. So
Right.
they do have them going into the office. I think like our office is huge, so maybe one person on this wing and one or two people on this wing. I think they kind of staggered it so that people aren't like directly next to each other, but there are
Mhm.
people that go in the office.
Yeah, it's been an interesting thing.
Mhm.
Now I'm kind of curious, especially with my job, with them saving the money that they're saving.
Mhm.
Like, why?
What do you mean? How are they saving money? Like on
Because people are
utilities?
using their own internet,
Oh
own
yeah.
electricity, um,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and that's definitely something to factor in. And, it will be the same thing for my office. However, I mean, because there are some people that are going in and have to go into the office, and there's still always like security there on site because there's like the office houses a lot of data as well. They're still spending money on electricity and still, you know what I mean? So they still have to have like the lights and stuff on, and the Wi-Fi, the internet and stuff is still going to be on, despite the fact that there aren't as many people in the office. But I do think there's a cost savings for companies that allow their staff to work from home for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
About this topic, child, we'll talk about the sisterhood. The
mm,
sisterhood.
mm,
Yeah. So, we talk about the sisterhood in, uh, our topics just as it comes up. It comes up pretty frequently. I decided that this was something that we should potentially talk about because maybe about a week ago, I had an interaction on a social media site where a friend of mine posted something regarding how Black women never want to apologize. That he was talking about how, uh, you know, Black women don't like to acknowledge their faults. And I agreed with him. Me being the pick me that I am, I said,
mm, mm.
I said,
This
yeah,
male identified role.
I know, right? Oh my gosh, I got so much flack for it. But I said, yeah, we have some issues with accountability. That was my response. And what did I say that for? Because the she wolves came out and they came for my head, sis. Like they were like, Oh my gosh. You know, he was
How
like,
many nappy head bitches were you called?
man, listen. They were too mad at me.
They'll
Like,
go in. Oh my
oh
gosh.
my
You
gosh.
think
Like,
these dudes in this space talk shit?
yeah. Oh, look. Don't speak out against the sisterhood. Like, you best to be ready. You better have on your Vaseline, have your earrings out, because if you speak out against the sisterhood, you better be ready to fight. And like, literally, I was so many pickmes and mammies, and you know, pandering to men, and you know, just oh my gosh, all
How
kind
much
of
dick are they
negativity.
paying you, sis?
I mean, like you, that's all I wanted was, you know, D and attention, and you know, just all kinds of negativity. And it was, I mean, at first I was like laughing, but then, you know, of course I was engaging, and I was, you know, kind
You
of
was
defending.
cursing them back out?
No, I wasn't doing that, but I
Oh,
was.
that's what I would have did.
No,
Oh.
I wasn't doing that. And like for the most part, they were doing like the name calling, but they were still respectful to a degree. So it
I
wasn't like
got you.
no
Like they
be
know what
this,
line
be
to
that.
cross.
Yeah. Because two of the women in particular had said something to another woman on the post, and they agreed. And the guy checked them, like, "Don't come on my page with that. Like, be respectful over here." So their
Mm.
interaction with me was fairly respectful. But you know, I was like defending my position and saying, you know, as Black women, I think that, you know, we do have issues with accountability. I think that, you know, Black women don't like to own up to our stuff. Like sometimes we just flat out refuse to own up to our mess. And that was like my basic point. That, you know, we don't like to be held accountable. Like that was, in my opinion, based on my experience and what I've seen. And I was including myself in that. Like the one thing about me, and this is why I do not consider myself a pick me, is because whenever I point out a flaw in Black women, generally um, my first, I first take notice of the issue that I'm speaking of, or that I'm pointing out in myself. It's generally something that I've seen in myself, and I'm like, oh, we do that. I've actually done that, and it's kind of a more of a self-reflection thing for me. And I'm like, dang, that's something I got to work on. I have to, you know, work on accountability. I have to work on, you know, not being so defensive and owning up to my mess. And, you know, so I'm like, pick-me's are usually like pointing out the flaws in other women to say, she does this, but I don't do that. Pick me. She is, you know, not submissive, but I am. Pick me. That's not, that wasn't how I came off, and that's not generally how I operate. In addition, you know, sorry to say, but I've always been picked. Like, I've never had to
Mm.
pander to a man. I can be myself. I've always
Mm.
been picked. I've been single for 2 years in my entire life since I've started dating. And that was before I met my fiance. Like, I don't have to work hard to get picked. You know, I feel like good quality people, you know, the opposite sex will generally notice that, and you don't have to worry about finding a man. Like, they will come, you know. So I just don't feel like, you know, that is a proper definition or proper term that suits me. I don't consider myself a pick me, but in the same respect, I can be objective and I can say, dang, we as women have stuff that we need to work on. I don't understand why that is a strike against womanhood, or you know, a strike against the sisterhood, for another woman to speak out against the things that we as women need to work to overcome, the obstacles that we need to work to overcome. That I look at them as opportunities. It's not a negative thing to say we have an opportunity here to do better.
Oh, you look at them as opportunities, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Women, you know, and it's hard as fuck for us to see the errors of our own ways.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a situation that happened to us that we never got healing from, we want to be able to hold on to that situation like a crutch and play
Mm-hmm.
that bitch like a trump card every time
Yes.
something goes on with us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got 4 kids by 5 men.
Mm-hmm.
Bam, I got the ace. A black
Mm.
man raped me when I was 6.
Yep.
It's been,
Ooh.
I mean, and you don't want
Listen.
to. It's like with black women, you don't want to come down hard on them because some of us have had the same experiences, right?
Yeah.
But at some point, it is up to you to heal yourself or to get the treatment that you need so you don't have to carry on with this bullshit when you get to be an adult.
Listen.
And you
Yeah.
can't say that.
And I agree. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. However, I am not like at my age and with the life experience that I have, I'm not going to bite my tongue to appease you. If you are, I mean, now the thing is, if I were crucifying black men or talking about the faults of black men, like nobody would be so, she's telling me that, I am exhibiting misogynoir in my speech. And no one would say that no one would accuse me of misandry if I was saying, oh, black men ain't nothing and this, that. If I had negative things to say about black men, I wouldn't have encountered any kind of resistance from black women. So I feel like that is just a classic shaming tactic. They're shaming you from speaking your truth and speaking out about the flaws of black women by saying, oh, you're a pick me or you're this or you're that. But, by calling you all these negative things, it's in an effort to silence you. And it's mess. It's mess to me. I'm not buying it. I feel like for me personally, I don't do that divisive BS. I'm not doing the whole black men against black women thing. We are one people. And if I see something messed up about black women, I'm going to call it. Just like if I see something messed up about black men, you're not going to shut me up by, trying to attach these negative connotations to me. It's not going to work.
So, okay, so we've kind of identified that a lot of us have issues with accountability,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, do is that an all around thing for people, or is it specific to us?
Okay, so that's a good question that you asked because she said the same thing. One of the main antagonists, shall we call her, she said the same thing. She said, no one likes to be accountable. Accountability makes people uncomfortable. Why are you saying? And I said, well, the topic wasn't about everybody else. It was specifically about black women. And I agreed. So I do think that accountability can be uncomfortable. However, I've seen far more men say, I screwed up in that relationship. I lost a good one. Then I've seen
Oh,
women
girl, we ain't
own up
never
to.
gonna say that shit. We ain't never gonna say that. Concrete, you still there? Uh oh. Concrete. Oh, well, she disappeared, y'all. David said, "Oh, I was saying that they'll come cuss us out too. Shoot, they don't care."
Sorry, child. Every time, like I have these headphones in, and I keep like calling Siri by accident. But what one last thing that I wanted, one last point that I wanted to bring up. I went back and forth, and I'm fine with that. Like I used to do that all the time. So I wasn't, bothered by going back and forth with someone. The issue for me was that the sisterhood is um, some BS to me, just to put it plainly. I think that to alienate a person because they don't subscribe to the same ideologies that you subscribe to, or they have an opinion that differs from yours, or to say you can't sit with us if you ain't agreeing with us 100% of the time is absolutely insane. I think that it is tantamount to what men are being accused of. Men are being accused of trying to control with these feminist ideologies that we subscribe to. A lot of times we are accusing men of basically trying to control the narrative as it relates to women. And that's what the sisterhood does. You're not allowed to have an independent thought. You're not allowed to, publicly speak out against or to speak out about things that we need to improve upon. We got to keep that on the low. It's best not to say anything, and for us to continue down this road to nowhere and just not talk about it. But the absolute thing that pushed me over the edge during this interaction was after going back and forth with this young lady for some time, because like some other women had some comments and they kind of just went on about their business, but this one particular antagonist, Um, she continued on for well over an hour. So the final thing that she said that just kind of took me out was, um, she said that I had said to her that I believe that, we're kind of indoctrinated to believe that, we don't have to be accountable, that we're kind of conditioned, like young girls are kind of conditioned to be like, young girls are generally coddled. Young girls aren't necessarily, if they do something wrong, they're not necessarily met with that stern talking to that young boys would be met with. And I think that, it starts from an early age was the kind of the point that I was trying to make to her. And then subsequently, her response to me was that we live in a world where a young girl who is sexually assaulted or abused will be asked, did she provoke it? But how? But young girls are coddled. How? She said that makes me angry, and I effing refuse to converse with you any further. So now that was kind of a trigger for me. I got very upset, and I just typed a long, very, very, very long response to that because what she was doing at that point to me was she was losing. So she pulled out her trump card. She pulled out the victimization card, and we to introduce sexual assault into a conversation that had absolutely nothing to do with sexual assault, into a conversation that you were presenting your points and I was presenting my points, and you had nowhere else to go. So in order to get out of it, you introduce that was a straw man, and it had nothing to do with nothing. And are we to ignore the fact that young boys are also sexually assaulted without bringing it upon themselves? I just felt like that's a tactic that some sisters do in order to win an argument. They play victim, essentially, not using that specific, maybe not using abuse, but they play victim is what I'm saying. So that was kind of like the defining moment for me, that I was like, okay, let me get out of here because this is about to go downhill real fast, because I was upset at the sheer notion that you would bring up abuse. That was kind of low to me. So yeah, but nonetheless, it was an interesting exchange, and it made me think about the sisterhood and how cult like it is. I mean,
You went out again, honey. I hopefully that you. I hope you can hear me still. Because I have a good question whenever you come back. Hey everybody in the chat. Hope you guys are doing well. I got tired of typing. Hey SKC. Hey the Parker family. Um, what do you guys think about? Well, here's concrete. So I'll wait.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, child. I literally keep calling Siri, but go ahead.
Okay. What I wanted to ask you, this has been going on for generation, uh, probably literally for centuries, right? And I was gonna talk about like the sororities and stuff that women get involved in and what a sisterhood that is. But I've seen some things, and I don't want to bash sororities and fraternities because some good things have come out of those things. But I've seen such attitudes of the you can't sit with us. We're hot girls, we're bad bitches, you ain't
Mhm.
shit. Um, if you ain't trying to take a nigga for his money, if you ain't out here balling and
Mhm.
weave down to your ankles and shit, you ain't that bitch.
Mhm.
And it seems to be a desire for a lot of women to want to become like that. And I kind of feel like, do you think the sisterhood is exclusive or is it anybody that agrees? And I was
Um.
all over the fucking place, but it is what it is.
Well, I think as far as the sisterhood, I think that the sisterhood and being a member is almost kind of like a rite of passage for young girls. I think that, you are automatically deemed part of the sisterhood until you show that, you're going against the grain, is what I think.
Let me give a special.
But there are different levels. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let me give a special shout out to David Monroe for the Cash App. Thank you so much, David. We appreciate you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I do think that there are different levels. I think that, you may be kind of part of the sisterhood loosely, whereas there are, different cliques within the sisterhood where, women that are more of the mindset that they subscribe to, feminist ideologies may have a higher position within the sisterhood that subscribe, not only subscribe to it, but that speak out against anything that goes against those ideologies. So, but I think that by nature, you being a Black woman would be deemed a member of the sisterhood until you do something that they don't like.
So, besides being deemed as a pick me, because you can, I think it's easy to be called a pick me. And so, what are some of the main things that you think would isolate you from the sisterhood?
The interesting thing is I always considered myself to be like a sister girl. Like, I am a defender of Black women. And even when I came into the space, a lot of people probably noticed that about me. And as of late, I have taken on a more objective tone because of the fact that I'm able to see things, from a Black man's perspective by having a Black man whom I love and, seeing what he deals with and kind of some of the things that he encounters and talking through situations with him and him giving me his perspective and me holding him in such high regard, respecting his point of view and saying, I didn't think of it that way. I didn't realize that we were alienating Black men by doing that. I didn't realize that I was being divisive by doing XYZ. So it kind of opened my eyes to, some of my own actions and, how that affects us. In addition, the more I've read and researched and tried to grow in my consciousness, I realized that, if the Black man is not succeeding, if the Black man is not successful, and if we as being Black women are not supporting the Black man in his growth, and we're doing the exact opposite by attacking or taking him down or, forming efforts to take him down, then we're not aiding the Black community. Like, we are hurting the Black community by doing that. So I say all that to say, I think the reason that I'm probably deemed an outsider and not a part of the sisterhood is strictly because of my attempt to be objective, my attempt to be honest and, forthcoming about things that, we need to work on, and me just calling out some of the antics of Black women.
Well, are we ready to drop the link?
Let's drop it and see what the people have to say. The Parker family says C Rose always upholds BFF. See, I cannot win. I'm a pick me over there. I'm upholding BFF over here. I mean, I can't win.
Concrete. Girls, you can go in on Black women. and what's interesting, because they also have kind of like a cult. If you're not talking shit about Black women, then you're against Black men. And we're gonna talk about y'all last too.
That's a problem though. Like, why can't it be though that we are a broken people? In order for us to be able to aid the community, in order for us to aid our offspring and our future leaders of the next generation, we have to try to fix what's wrong with us. So we can't continue to ignore the issues that plague our communities.
But this is the thing. A big part of the reason that the culture is so fucked up, I think, is the single motherhood rate.
YouTube?